WNST with all of my hockey friends here as Memorial Day comes and goes and the Washington Capitals battle to win Lord Stanley's Chalice. This guy chased the Chalice himself. We've been friends for 30 years back in his days as a Baltimore Skipjacks coach and, of course, with the Florida Panthers and the Columbus Blue Jackets, and now doing it all and opining about all things puck north of the border up at the sportsnet.ca, and his official Twitter account is Doug Maclean, and we welcome him back on. Dougie, last time I talked to you, the Caps were in a bad way in the Columbus series, and lo and behold, there's something magic when this happens, and teams are still playing in June, right?
Yeah, it was a great comeback. I mean, to think you're down 2-0 leaving home, and Ovechkin of all people to say that they're coming back after the challenges he's had at playoff time, and then to come through with it, and he to be an important part. But there's a lot of great stories. I mean, obviously Ovi's a big story, Holtby's a big story, Trotz is a big story, Wilson's a big story. I mean, there's a lot of good ones.
Well, I've said to everybody, if I were writing a book on this, I don't know exactly where it would begin, but it probably would be Ovechkin, right? Like, him coming into this and staying in this long and sticking around through, a lot of bad times and good times that turned into bad times. Because when you lose in April, it's just not good enough. It doesn't matter how it happens or why it happens or whose fault it is. When you've been there as long as he's been, it's, he carries this weight heavier than anyone.
And, the way he's competed, and you got to say, it started in game one. I mean, you look at the torrid pace he started the season with, and then the way he's competed in the playoffs. And I'm thinking, watching him and saying, what's he doing different? I mean, I found at playoff time, Ovi wanted to carry the puck through the neutral zone, wanted to beat people. He was always, challenging 1-on-2s and trying to gain the blue line in tough situations. And all of a sudden I'm saying, okay, is it the emergence of Kuznetsov that's helped him, that he's carrying the puck more, that Ovi's playing off him, that he's playing a little different game? But I whatever it is, and I think Kuznetsov, I think Wilson's given him more space. I think all those are elements. But whatever it is, all I know is he's played really hard, and he's been really doing whatever it takes. And when you watch their bench in a game, there's a lot of guys that are really, really excited about Ovechkin, and that tells you a lot about your leader when the players really want him to be successful. And that's what it looks like to me.
I mean, isn't that the charge for Barry Trotz, for you back in your day, if you have a special player? Certainly Adam Oates and Dale Hunter, Boudreau. I mean, everyone was always trying to get the best out of this kid. And I guess there's the natural part of being young from another culture. You go back to the day he was drafted, he barely spoke a word of English. Clearly, he liked the nightlife. He liked girls. He loved America. He loved all of that in the beginning, and then the money came. But then there comes this shame that follows you along into your 30s when your hair turns silver and you're supposed to do it, and it's never happened. And this reemergence for him and for Trotz and the alignment of all of this, it really does make for a delicious story for all of them if they get this done. But, if Vegas beats them in 5 games, they just came close to the top of the tree. They didn't get fully there.
Right. You know what, I think back to that Toronto series last year, and I don't know if Ovechkin was injured or what, but I mean, there was a couple games he played 12 minutes, and Trotz said, I lost him on the bench. And I'm thinking, no, just a minute. You don't lose your best player on the bench. Something was wrong there. Either Trotz was ticked off at him, or Ovi was hurt, or there was something bizarre going on. But now he's playing 17 minutes, he's playing 23 minutes, he's playing 21 minutes. He's playing a lot of key situations. So I think Trotz has been a big part of this. I think Trotz is really, really a relaxed guy this year. I don't know what's going on between him and McClellan. I don't know what's going on between him and ownership. But I sensed a different Barry Trotz this year, halfway through the year, where he was pretty comfortable with what was going on and that he was making plans to be somewhere else after this year and expected to be somewhere else after this year. And now you have a pretty magic run, and all of a sudden, what happens now? So I think Trotz being really relaxed has also helped this group a lot. I think he's done a heck of a job.
Well, it's interesting because he didn't have that sort of turmoil, and you know of that kind of relationship. You had one with Brian Murray that's special, that's you feels like a brotherhood. He was there with Poyle forever, and it feels more cutthroat most other places in most other industries. The Nashville thing was a little bit of fairy tale. I mean, we can get into the Golden Knights as well. Doug Maclean is our guest, former Skipjacks coach as well. You can follow him out at Doug Maclean on Twitter. But the Vegas situation is interesting because they're playing with house money right now as well. And Barry did that for 17 years in Nashville. And now in Washington, when you have the best team, when you win the President's Trophy, and when you don't deliver, and when your team doesn't get it done in a Game 6 against the Rangers, and you find yourselves ousted in double overtime in a nut house up at the Garden, and then Pittsburgh again, boy, this is really rewriting a script here in so many ways for the franchise and all the history for Ovechkin, for Trotz. But there comes Vegas with this unprecedented story, right? I mean, you tried doing this, Barry tried doing this with expansion teams. I mean, it's tough sledding, right?
That is, and this has been a unique expansion situation because just looking at their numbers, especially their playoff numbers, this is a team that's been as good as any team in the playoffs as far as creating scoring chances. A team that gets more than or as many chances from the slot area as any team in the NHL has at playoff time. It's also a team that gives up the fewest slot chances in the NHL. It's a team that plays fast. It's a team that gets the puck out of its own zone. And when they do give up chances, they've got an all-star in Fleury who's playing, in my opinion, the best hockey of his career right now. I haven't seen him play this good in a long time. So there's a lot of really good things going on with this Vegas team, and they've been scoring. I mean, they're scoring goals. They're a counter-punch team that's tough to play against. So the Caps have got a big job to do as to how they forecheck this team. A big job as to how they play in the neutral zone to slow this team down. This is not a typical expansion situation. This is a good hockey team they're playing. So I expect it to be a heck of a series.
Doug, you've been around this forever, and I consider you among, as a talent evaluator, a true expert on this stuff. Did you see Ovechkin or Fleury as having this in them, this sort of second afterlife? I mean, clearly what happened in Pittsburgh was unique with a kid coming in there that can win a cup, and you throw, a guy who's won a couple of cups to the side, and you make some deals and what McVie did. But, I don't know that anybody wanted Fleury to be their number one in the league thinking they would have a guy that they could win a Stanley Cup around.
No, not a chance. I mean, I said to Gerard Glenn, we had breakfast the day before he left for Vegas, and in the summer, and I said, Gerard, I'm nervous about how Fleury's going to adjust to an expansion situation, and he's had his ups and downs in Pittsburgh in the last couple of years. I did not see this coming. There was talk 3 years ago that this guy's career was in jeopardy, that he was struggling in Pittsburgh, and I know, he lost his job to Murray. He came in last year and had a couple of really good rounds in the playoffs, but he was replaced in the Ottawa series after a couple mediocre games, and it looked like it was starting to slide on him again. So, you know what, I didn't see it coming. With Ovechkin, you know what, it's hard to say you didn't see it coming with how he performed this year. He was really good all year, but I think it's also a part that the maturing of some people around him. They've been able to move Backstrom to another line with Oshie, and gives them a real good look that teams have to match up against. They have also got him with Kuznetsov and Wilson. That's another different look, a more physical look, a big line that teams have got to pay special attention to more than just Ovi there. So I think it bodes well for Ovi that he may be not getting as much attention as the other guys. You look at their power play, Carlson's become a threat. Backstrom is the great passer to the slot to Oshie. You got Ovi off to the side. You had key parts of a series where he and Carlson flip spot. When have we seen Ovi give up the top of the circle to let Carlson go there? Because it was a challenge for Columbus and it was a challenge for Pittsburgh to match up there. So there was some, he's doing whatever it takes. And did I see it coming? No, I didn't see them being in the finals. I really didn't. But I'll tell you what, he deserves a ton of credit for how he's played, what he's done, and he's doing whatever it takes. It's almost a little Crosby-like now. He's doing whatever the team needs him to do for them to be successful.
You know, I feel cursed about this whole PEI thing that, you know, I went to the bow of where your homeland sits and refused to pay the $38 Canadian to cross the bridge. And lo and behold, one of your people, you know, and also a former Red Wing when you were involved in that organization. Boy, you got a lot of relationship on that side of this thing as well with on both sides of these organizations. You know everybody here pretty well.
Well, it's interesting with Gerard. I mean, I taught him in high school. I've known him since he was 10 years of age. I coached him in a little bit in junior. I coached him in Detroit. He worked for me for 10 years in Columbus. So we go back a long way. We're great friends. So Mike Kelly, the assistant coach, was my captain when I was a coach at University of New Brunswick back in the early 80s. So, you know, I go back a long way with the guys there. Obviously, I know George pretty well as well. So, you know, and I know Trotz. I mean, I worked in Baltimore with Barry Trotz and in Washington with Barry Trotz. So, you know, and I coached Brian McCullen actually in Detroit. So I know a lot of guys in this series, to say the least.
Tell me what it means on Prince Edward Island when you bring back Lord Stanley's chalice for a picnic or a barbecue at some point over the summer. I'm trying to get to the love of hockey for everyone. And look, Dougie, you coached behind a bench here 30 years ago when there was nobody there and the team left, and that's why I'm going to be drinking Tom Ebright champagne out of the Stanley Cup with Trotzy if it actually happens here over the next couple of weeks. But the love of hockey and the passion of hockey in your country and for what it means, and trying to instill that in places like Baltimore, Washington, and Columbus, and in Miami and other places. I was down in Tampa last week, and it was amazing to me how it's grown. But this is a chance for our area to fall in love with hockey, who may have been an Orioles or a Ravens or whatever fan, to say, hey, this is a great game, and it's something I need to be a fan of the rest of my life.
Well, there'd be a lot of people that would pay the $38 to go and see the Stanley Cup mini parade in PEI this summer. And maybe you should rethink that. And
some folks from Shediac would make
their it's only $43, and that's to go there and come back. So
a bargain at any price.
Yeah, it's a bargain at any price because you get on and off for the same dollar. But anyway, you know what? Look, when we went to the Stanley Cup Finals, I went back to PEI after that unbelievable run we had with the Panthers, and they had a parade for me, and they had a big civic reception, and there was signs all over town. You know, good luck to the Panthers. Go, go, Doug, go. And all of a sudden, Gerard now is back in there. Gerard's always a real favorite on the island from his days as a kid, from his days as a Detroit Red Wing. He coached the local junior team there. He won a Canadian championship with a PEI junior team in Tier 2. He won a Memorial Cup with St. John. So he's really a popular guy there. And right now, if you drive into our hometown, I mean, there would be signs everywhere wishing Gerard good luck, and the people will be glued to their TVs hoping that he gets a chance to win the Stanley Cup. So it is big. It is very big there. And then when you have Mike Kelly, who's also from PEI, on his coaching staff, it adds a little more intrigue to it, and obviously the whole expansion thing does. So it will be very, very exciting in PEI over the next 2 weeks, hoping that he gets a chance. And also, there's a kid from Summerside who's playing for Bathurst in the Memorial Cup Championship game tomorrow. So it could be amazing that a town of 14,000 people could have both the Stanley Cup and the Canadian Memorial Cup and the major junior championship in Canada, both in Summerside this summer. So it's pretty exciting, to say the least, for everybody.
Potatoes, oysters, and delicious seafood will be served, I'm sure, right?
And mussels. PEI are famous for the mussels. Don't forget mussels. Malpeque oysters, PEI mussels, lobster, potatoes. You know how I say potatoes. There's a D in potatoes. You guys say it with a T. I say potatoes with a D.
I love you, Doug Maclean. 30 years later, we're talking about the Stanley Cup coming to your place. Hey, what about coming to our place on this side of things? You said the Caps have an uphill climb here. Did you think this was possible to put together an expansion team that could do this? I mean, did you look at the different set of rules and the quality of the players and think, well, if they catch lightning in a bottle, they could be a playoff team at the very least? Or did you think it was going to be sort of slow sledding like everyone else? Because, we're going to have the Seattle situation now, and now the bar has been raised as to what you can put together by taking a cast-off from every organization and making a team out of it in 10 months.
Listen, I didn't expect this. I thought they would be competitive, and that would be different from most expansion franchises we've seen. Nashville were the first to come in of 4 teams. They were reasonably competitive. Atlanta struggled. Columbus struggled. We had 70 points I think we had 71 points in our first year. Minnesota had 70 points. We both came in the same time. And all those teams struggled, and have had their challenges, but they're all pretty good franchises right now. But nobody expected this. So, yeah, they're better. Gerard realized it when he got there that he had some pretty good players. Teams weren't prepared for this expansion draft. I mean, when I see Columbus saying, you take Carlson and we'll give you a first-round pick so you don't take Korpisalo and so you don't take Josh Anderson. I mean, those are tough deals. And then you see Minnesota say, we'll give you our former first-round pick Tuck and we'll give you Haula if you stay away from Dumba. So there was some tough deals made, and George held out and battled these teams. So what's going to happen in Seattle? Mark my word, there's not going to be any of these cute deals. It's going to be okay. Here's the 7-3-1. You take the next guy, and we're done. We're done with you. There's no more flipping of first-round picks and second-round picks and giving up the farm. And the owners are ticked off about what happened. Let me tell you, they're not happy. So. George did a great job. The coaching staff have done a great job, and the NHL did a real good job with tougher rules. So, listen, when we come in, it was like protect 16 players. Are you kidding me? Now it's 7-3-1. I mean, we were taking picks so that you didn't have to sign them, that you could just get rid of them. So it was a drastic change, and good on the league for, they paid $500 million for this franchise.
I would ask you about all of this with Vegas being in. And obviously, Ovechkin being in's got to be good, right? I mean, the Capitals being in the Stanley Cup Finals is good for the NHL, I think, all the way around, right? The Russia side, the Sweden side, the American side, everything. But the Vegas thing, I think there is certainly north of the border a little bit of, how could they be this good? A little bit of unfairness, a little bit of backlash. But is it good or is it bad that even it happened this way? I mean, tell you what, when I'm laying at the pool and it's a $1.03 on Tuesday, maybe with the Caps with a 1-0 lead, I won't think it's so bad that we're in Vegas. But I would have preferred to go to Winnipeg, as strange as that sounds. I really would have.
But you know what? You can imagine what some fans feel like that, but 30, 40, 50 years of watching their team play.
Toronto.
And seeing them get beat in the first, second, third round. Take a look at St. Louis. They came in the league in 67. How frustrating has it been for those fans? And all of a sudden you're seeing a first-year team in the Stanley Cup final. Are you kidding me? I mean, when the Panthers went to the Stanley Cup, it drove teams crazy too because we were a third-year team. But, you know what, with all that said, I'll tell you what there's a lot of excitement about north of the border. There's a lot of people saying, and I'm shocked by this, a lot of people saying, I'd love to see Ovi win a Stanley Cup. That's what people are saying in Canada, and it shocks me. And it shouldn't, because, look, the guy's got 600-plus goals. He's been a treat to watch his entire career, and a lot of people are saying, wow, wouldn't it be great for Ovechkin to get this monkey off his back and to win the Stanley Cup. So I'm kind of enjoying hearing a little bit of that too,
Well, he plays the game in a manner and with a joy and with a rugged disregard that Canadian people would you love the way he plays the game, right? I mean,
yeah,
you have to.
How can you not? How can you not love the way he plays the game, with the way he competes and the way he cares? And look, he's paid a big price reputation-wise with coming in head-to-head and seeing Crosby have all the success he had. I mean, this is big. When you saw the joy on his face when that game ended in Tampa Bay, it was pretty special. So good on all of them.
All right, so Holtby here versus Fleury, a bunch of goal scorers versus, that have been together and have bled together versus, what do you think, Dougie? 6, 7, 8, 9? How many are we going to play here this week?
Well, I'm telling you, I think Holtby is the key. Is he going to be good enough to match Fleury? I think Fleury's going to be real good, and Holtby, we saw how he really sputtered down the stretch, even in that last game in Tampa Bay. He got a shutout, but he made me a little nervous at times. So the question to me is Holtby going to be as good? If Holtby's as good as Fleury, then Washington win this series. If he's not, it's going to be a tough series for the Caps. But look, I think Washington are going to play real well against Vegas. I think they're going to challenge Vegas' speed, and they're going to really play a real sound game. After what I watched, Orlov, Niskanen, Orpik, and these guys do in shutting down Panarin and Atkinson in that Columbus series, that last 4 games, and watching what they did with Stamkos and Kucherov 5-on-5, Vegas will have their work cut out for them.
All right, Dougie. Well, you'll be the first one to get the snapshot of me drinking Tom Ebright champagne out of Lord Stanley's chalice in Baltimore, wearing a Skipjacks sweater, maybe the Steve Seftel sweater. I think that's what I'm going to go with, and I'm looking forward to doing that. So at least you'll know if the Caps win, your buddy Nestor in Baltimore is having one hell of a party here, eating crabs and drinking champagne out of the Stanley Cup.
I like it. Sounds good. But I'd like to see it in PEI too. So, we'll see what happens.
All right. Well, we're all in it together. The good old hockey game. It's the best game you can name. That's correct.
And next time, don't be afraid to spend the $40, and you know what you're talking about PEI.
I really do. I mean, if my wife came in here right now, you would see the shame and the embarrassment on her face and my face that anytime we're anywhere, like our buddies down at Riley's Oyster, they always have PEI oysters. And every time we look up, we see PEI, we both just sort of put our palms against our heads and say, that was stupid that we didn't do that. But I'm telling you, the visitor center there, we spent an hour. We watched the video of the bridge going up. We did everything but pay the $38. So for that, I stand ashamed, and it means I need to come back.
38 Canadian.
You know what I'll do? If the Caps win the Stanley Cup, I'll see if I can give half my day to you. And I'll bring it up to PEI, all right? We'll get some muscles together. Dougie, love you. Appreciate you. Thanks for coming on, man.
Take care, bud.
You got it. Doug Maclean of Canada, of PEI, of Toronto, but really he hangs out in Florida more. Not bad for a Canadian dude. His official Twitter account's Doug Maclean out on Twitter. And, of course, he's at Sportsnet up in Canada on Thursdays and Fridays calling the action. And always a straight shooter about the good old hockey game. And one of the people I've collected on this crazy journey of hockey and football and baseball and radio and all the other stuff that we do around here. And rock and roll. I'm doing some rock and roll this summer as well. I'm trying to get Michael Bolton on the air. Only I would have Michael Bolton in the Stanley Cup in the same summer. I'm going to be out in Vegas all week. Ed Frankovic's going to be in Vegas all week. We're going to bring it back to D.C. and then back to Vegas, and we'll see how this – it's not going to be over in 5. The thing's going to go at least 6 or 7, I'm pretty sure. But we're hanging in. A lot of hockey around here. We'll mix in some Ravens, mix in some baseball when necessary, when obligated to. But not often we get to fly the hockey flag around here. We're going to do that. Appreciate Doug Maclean coming on. I'm in the buyatoyota.com audio vault 24 hours a day. If you miss any parts of this or any of our recaps of Games 1, Game 2, whatever, you can find it out in the buyatoyota.com audio vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world. The morning newspaper ships digitally to your email inbox at 7 a.m. It's all brought to you by Planet Fitness at planetfitness.com, where it's still $10 a month to get in the best shape of your life, guaranteed. Also, the Pimlico entries in there as well, the Maryland Jockey Club, our partners, as well as on the front of WNST.net. Any breaking news? The Orioles deal Manny Machado away. The Caps win the Stanley Cup. You'll get a WNST text. It's all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard, where even Dennis Colossus is rocking the red. I got Caps hats around here, shirts, swag, skipjack stuff. All the memories, they come flooding back as Barry Trotz tries to win a Stanley Cup and bring it back to the land of pleasant living. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, Ed Frankovic and I being goofs on the strip in Vegas. It's all available for you on Facebook Live and our YouTube WNSTV channel. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 at WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Stanley Cup and Baltimore sports.